You look into the eyes of someone you trust and realize you were only ever a reflection of what they wanted. Why does someone who seems so perfect at first eventually make you feel like you're disappearing? Once upon a time, in the golden streets of ancient Athens, there lived a man named Narcissus. Now, Narcissus wasn't the villain you might think. He didn't plot wars or poison kings. No, his weapon was simpler. It was his mirror. Legend says he stared into a pool of water and fell in love with his own reflection. He sat there for days, unable to look away, starving for the image he adored. But the real tragedy? Narcissus didn't see anyone else. Not the friends calling his name, not the lovers begging for his touch. He only saw himself, until eventually, he wasted away. Now fast forward to today, and you'll see his descendants everywhere. They don't carry pools of water anymore. They carry golden smiles, perfectly curated Instagram feeds, charm so heavy, it feels like gravity. At first, a narcissist doesn't seem like a threat. They seem perfect, confident, magnetic. They compliment you, lift you up, make you feel like the most important person in the world. Until, one day, they don't. Slowly, it happens. Your victories become their victories. Your pain becomes their weapon. You feel confused, questioning yourself, wondering if maybe you're the problem. That's how narcissism works. It sneaks up dressed as love. The ancient philosopher Epictetus warned us about this almost 2,000 years ago. He said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." A narcissist doesn't disturb your world directly at first. They plant seeds inside your mind, tiny distortions of reality. You begin to think, maybe they're right. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I do need them more than they need me. They twist the you look into the eyes of someone you trust and realize too late, you were only ever a reflection of what they wanted. Why does someone who seems so perfect at first eventually make you feel like you're disappearing? Once upon a time, in the golden streets of ancient Athens, there lived a man named Narcissus. Now, Narcissus wasn't the villain you might think. He didn't steal, he didn't kill, he didn't shout. He simply stared. Legend says he found a pool of water so clear, it reflected the sky itself. He leaned over it, just to admire the view, and what he saw was himself. And something strange happened. He fell in love, not with the mountains behind him, not with the birds flying overhead, only with his own face. He sat there day after day, unable to leave, unable to love anything else. His friends called for him. His family begged him to come home. Even the gods pitied him. But he couldn't hear them. He was trapped inside his own gaze. And so he stayed, wasting away, a prisoner of his own reflection. That was over 2,000 years ago. But the spirit of Narcissus never died. It just evolved. Today, narcissism doesn't look like a boy by a pond. It looks like the boss who never listens, the lover who only loves you when you're shining, the friend who disappears the second your life gets messy. It wears nice suits. It posts motivational quotes online. It knows how to make you feel seen, until you realize you were only ever a mirror to them. Psychologists today define narcissism as a personality style, driven by a deep need for admiration and an equally deep fear of real vulnerability. But ancient philosophers like Epictetus saw it even more simply. He said, "It is impossible to learn what you think you already know." Narcissists live inside this trap. They are so desperate to protect their image that they can never truly grow. And anyone close to them, you, me, anyone, becomes part of their armor, part of their show. It starts beautifully. They are attentive, funny, intoxicating. They mirror your hopes, your dreams, even your fears. They make you feel like you found someone who finally gets you. But you didn't find a soulmate. You found a stage actor, and you are part of the script. You might think you would see it coming, that it would be obvious. But that's the genius of narcissism. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't scream. It whispers. Imagine you are walking through a carnival at night. The lights are dazzling. Music swells from every corner. There's laughter, applause, 100 voices calling your name. Every booth promises you a prize. Every ride promises a thrill. And so you run toward it all, laughing, alive. But as the night drags on, the lights start to flicker. The music becomes distorted. The booths are empty. The prizes are fake. And the exit? It's nowhere to be found. That is what it feels like to realize you've given your trust to a narcissist. At first, it feels like coming alive. Later, It feels like trying to escape a dream that doesn't want to let you wake up. That's why it is so difficult to spot narcissism early. Our brains are wired for survival. We are social creatures. In the ancient world, being liked wasn't about ego. It was about safety. If your tribe didn't like you, you might not survive the winter. So today, even though the stakes have changed, our instincts haven't. When someone showers us with affection, attention, and admiration, it lights up ancient parts of our brain that scream, "This is good. Stay here." We aren't trained to be suspicious of charm. We are trained to seek it. And that's why so many men and women feel lost after 45. Because the relationships they built on charm and admiration crumble, and they are left standing in the ruins, asking themselves, was it ever real? Narcissism, at its core, is a defense against shame. Somewhere in their early life, narcissists learned a brutal lesson. Being vulnerable was dangerous. Maybe their parents only praised success. Maybe their teachers mocked weakness. Maybe love was something they had to earn, and it could be taken away in an instant. So they built a shining wall around themselves. On the outside, charm, confidence, charisma. On the inside, fear, shame, emptiness. And anyone who gets close enough to see behind the wall becomes a threat. That's why, no matter how much love you give a narcissist, it is never enough. Because you are not feeding a person, you are feeding a wound that never closes. The Persian poet Rumi once wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you." But a narcissist cannot let life flow through them. They must control it, manipulate it, twist it to fit the image they are desperately protecting. And if you stay in their orbit too long, you begin to lose your own ability to let life flow. You start living in defense mode, walking on eggshells, second-guessing your words, shrinking yourself smaller and smaller so you don't disturb the image they are trying to maintain. You trade your freedom for their approval. You lose your voice to preserve their ego. But here's the thing. You can take it back. You can learn to spot narcissism not by how people shine in the spotlight, but how they act in the shadows. A narcissist is kind when they are winning. But how do they act when they lose? A narcissist praises you when you succeed. But do they celebrate you when your success threatens to outshine them? A narcissist says they love you. But do they love you when you say no? Watch the shadows. Watch the small moments. Watch the cracks in the golden mask. And once you see it, once you know, the next step is the hardest. You have to protect your energy. Not just by confronting them. Not just by calling them out. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is leave quietly, with your dignity intact, with your reflection in your own hands again. One man, let's call him Daniel, spent nearly 20 years working under a boss he admired more than anyone. This boss was charming, persuasive, a leader everyone wanted to impress. Daniel gave his heart to the job, believing every promise, chasing every dream. But the rewards never came. Only more demands, more criticism, more gaslighting. Until one day, Daniel heard a quote that changed his life. "You owe no loyalty to a system that demands your self-destruction." He realized he wasn't building a career. He was feeding a narcissist's empire. So he left, quietly. No drama, no explosions. Just a simple choice. His soul over their approval. Today, Daniel leads his own company. One where people are seen, not used. That's the hidden power no narcissist can take from you. The power to choose yourself. The power to walk away from mirrors that demand your admiration, and instead, stand in front of your own. Not because you are perfect, not because you are invincible, but because you are enough, even without their applause. If this speaks to you, wait until you hear what we're covering next time. How to break free from toxic patterns and build a life that no one can steal from you again.